Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the stream. I've got my keyboard full of tactile switches. I'm here with my resident switch expert, Randy. From last time, he knows everything about switches, much more than me. And I spent way too much money on this video, the clicky video, and the linear video that's going to happen very soon. So we've got a tier list. I think it's !plan if you want to follow along, make your own tier list, maybe compare at the end. But switches are extremely subjective. This is not keyboard science. This is purely opinion with some facts. So enjoy. Okay. Hello, Randy.
Everyone, 大家好. Hello again.
We're here with tactile switches. Let's see if the tier maker works. There we go. A tier maker, create your own tactile switch tier list. I don't know how many switches we have, but it's enough to fill most of the rows of my 65% keyboard.
Yeah, we have like 40 or so switches, 40 or 50 switches.
Dang. And I'm sure there's a ton that we don't even know about that's just out there in the world on the internet.
We're not even scratching the surface somehow.
That's crazy that 40 switches and you're just at the top and there's so much iceberg. Iceberg? Yes, iceberg beneath the ocean. So before we start, there are disclaimers to be made. Randy and I are human beings, therefore we are biased and have our own opinions that may or may not match your opinions, which is why you need to form your own opinion. Can we all agree not to hate each other on our opinions?
That's right. It's all preference at the end of the day.
That is right. So let me take a look at our tier list. This is not the right screen. Here it is. All of the pictures of our beautiful switches that we're going to rank according to a certain criteria. Last time we did not make a criteria because I don't really know clicky switches very well. But today we will have a criteria. So let's discuss this criteria. I don't like talking about it, but we all, I went to school. Randy, you also went to school. And you don't want to say grades are just a number and you're not just a number, but I think this tier list thing could be best compared to grades in school. So S tier is like above and beyond. You're an overachiever. You're asking, teacher, you said we would have homework, but you didn't give it out to us. Can you please give it out to us? Like that would be S tier. I don't know how that relates to switches.
That extra credit AP overachiever, yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
that person where you're looking at and you're like, why? But in terms of switches, you'd be happy if someone went above and beyond. Should we take price into account, or is that not something?
I think for a lot of people, price should be taken into consideration, but at the end of the day, a switch is a switch. So if it's just up to you and you're just taking a look at the switches, then I don't think you necessarily need to. But yeah, for some of them, like it should just be said that at the budget price, maybe around the 20-cent to 40-cent per switch category, there's not very many good tactiles.
I agree. Most of them start at 50 cents, which is my preferred switch price.
Yeah.
So S tier is 10 out of 10, perfect as is. You don't need to do crazy stuff to it, and it saves you a bunch of time. So A tier is a step under that. It's like the 4.0, well, the 3.5 to 4.0 of people in school. So you can use it on the reg without complaining, and you might mod it a little bit. Just a little bit. Maybe some lube on the spring.
Yeah, spring lube just seems to be a common factor among all springs. Even if it's pre-lubed, the springs can be a little inconsistent.
I agree. I agree. Do you have a method that you... So I guess this is a side question. When you get pre-lubed switches and you don't like the way that they're lubed, how do you... Or do you clean them? Or do you just lube over them?
It depends on the switch. Some of them, if they're not too overly lubed, you can just go ahead and lube over it. If you're really finicky about it, then you can wipe it off or using like a microfiber, or you throw it into an ultrasonic cleaner if you have that. If you don't, Ringer Keys also has Vertrel XF. It's by DuPont, and it's a solvent made for cleaning off lubricants like this.
I
But
just learned
yeah,
something new.
all I usually do is if the spring is already kind of lubed or not, I don't really care. I just hand lube it or hand brush it anyway. And for the housing, I guess it just kind of depends. I'm so lazy at this point that I don't really even want to lube the stem or the housing. But if I do, I'll probably wipe it off, wipe off the stem a little bit, and then apply some 205G on the spring, on the stem, I mean.
Yeah, I feel that. I've been extremely lazy lately as well. Switch lubing. When you do it more than like 4 times in your entire life, you know, it's you don't want to do it anymore. You just don't. So A tier is pretty good, just a little bit of mod. B tier though, it's gonna need a little bit more loving. Some more lube on the stem, lube on the spring, and maybe out of the box it feels a little bit rough. Or it could be too intense. Like if the bump is too big or the weight is too heavy, or if it's too light, you just resting your fingers on there and you're actuating everything.
We like to stress the big tactile bump a lot in this hobby, like the really strong bump and everything. But at the end of the day, it has to be comfortable enough for you to type on all day. So if it's too tactile, then maybe it's not for you.
Yeah. It reminds me of clicky switches because sometimes the bumps are too big and you're typing and you missed a key because you didn't press hard enough.
Yeah, especially the pinkies.
Yeah, weak pinkies. C tier is a mediocre switch. You know, sometimes you ask like, why'd they make that? Or who is this for? Or just why? But you could use it if you needed to. You could still switch. D tier is you're not really into it, you know, either Randy or I or you, but you can see a purpose for, you know, the odd person that would want to use it. And then F tier is just a no. No one wants that. Why'd they make it? You know, maybe it's super cheap, but yeah, just no. Just no. And maybe it's the place where meme switches should go to, but I don't know. Maybe. Okay, where should we start? Should we follow our tier list order, or should we just follow the order on the keyboard?
I guess maybe we should start with some switches that you're familiar with.
Okay, that's...
whichever ones that you're familiar with or that you're comfortable with.
That's smart, that's smart. I am familiar with the pandas, at least the big ones. So the drop holy panda and the glorious pandas. And then I also know U4Ts and Zelios. That's about it. That's the one. Those are the ones that I've had full keyboards of and have typed on consistently.
So those are some pretty nice, like medium heavy to heavy tactiles, or strong tactile bump rather. Yeah.
Let me get those out. So you
Nice
have
one.
the holy panda. You know that sound test. Everybody knows that sound test. The Fiel. Oh, I can't.
Yeah, Fiel with drop holy panda.
Fiel holy panda sound test. The infamous sound test. It made me want these, and I've had a full build with them, and they ended up being too tactile and too loud for me personally. Their tactility feels really good. So I guess we're talking about tactility a lot. So there's a way that you measure tactility. That's not just like, oh, this is heavy. Oh, this is nice. Oh, this is round and blah, blah. There's more of a process that you can use to feel a switch which without actually using it. But Randy will talk more about that because I don't know much about it.
So yeah, we're basically talking about what makes tactility. So when we're talking about tactility, oftentimes we have to look at the force graph. Um, so a lot of these terms are going to be related to a force curve graph, but not necessarily. So we'll talk about peak force first. Peak force is basically going to be the max tactile force. When you're looking at a force graph, there are peaks and valleys, and the peak force is basically going to be right at the top of that little mountain.
Right here.
The,
Let me
yeah,
add Randy's face back in.
it's
Okay.
basically that red line that you see. That's the top of the bump or the top of the top of the peak of the resistance, basically, the most resistance that you'll feel for the bump. And then after that, it just snaps into the actual shape of the bump legs itself. And then you'll talk about basically how tactile something is from that down to the valley or the tactile floor there, um, the bottom there. So when you measure the grams there, you'll
Mm-hmm.
see the peak is around 63 grams of force, and the bottom is around 37 grams of force. So right around 25 to 30 grams of force is that tactile drop.
A lot of that went over my head, but but I'm sure our
Right.
viewers get the
So
point.
let's go. So let's say
Let's let's go
red line is
slower.
the yeah. Red
Red,
line is the peak force.
and that's when you first press on it and you feel the
That's when
initial
you
force.
press down and you'll first feel the bump. Yeah, that's when you'll probably say the start of the bump happens.
Okay.
Because you'll just feel a little bit of buildup up to that, and then you'll feel a really big snap,
Hmm.
and that's right before the snap.
Okay, and then the floor is after the bump where it starts feeling
Yeah,
a little bit linear.
typically right before actuation, and yeah, so that's where you're gonna feel the end of the bump typically, and that's how you'll tell how big or how small or how heavy or how strong the bump actually is.
Okay, so
So with something like an MX Brown, yeah,
the distance between the peak force and the floor, that would be how heavy the
yeah, that's
bump
how
is.
tall. Yeah, that's how tall the bump is, or how, and you would also say how strong the bump is. That's also what we would call the tactile drop.
Okay. All right. I think we all understand it. I understand it now, sort of.
Right.
Enough.
So x-axis, yeah, obviously is travel, and then y-axis going up is force required.
Yes. All right.
Right. So yeah, so depending on your preferences, a bigger bump might feel better to you. A bump with more pre-travel, so one that's not at the very start of the key press, might feel better to you. Or something like an MX Brown might feel the best to you.
Could be. Could be. No one's judging. No one's judging people here. Could be anything. Okay, so the based on our criteria, holy pandas are confusing because the one that I just bought was maybe a month old and it said it's not lubed. But then I got it in the mail and like I think it's lubed unless I'm deaf. I think
Word
they
lubed.
lube it. Or maybe they're
Yeah,
inconsistent.
my holy pandas, the stem legs were actually lubed, and the leaf. So they definitely felt inconsistent to me, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't hate that they're a little bit pre-lubed. I don't like that they're inconsistent from switch to switch though. Because I can't just plop them into a keyboard and be like, I'm ready to go. I have to do stuff about it. So, according to our criteria, that would put it into E tier. Could be A
Yeah,
tier. Could be A tier. Could be A tier.
yeah, mine I would probably put somewhere probably around B tier as well. They feel great, and when you get them good, when you get them perfect,
Hmm.
they're a great switch. They're a great tactile switch. But yeah, mine, I opened them all up. I had to clean the lube off of the legs, even though they were supposed to be unlubed. And then some of my stem legs were even broken off. So
Oh no,
yeah,
QC problems. You're going into B tier Holy Pandas. Even though I feel like 2 years ago, Holy Pandas were like the holiest tactile switch.
yeah,
Oop.
they were great. They were a great switch like a couple of years ago, even a year ago. And I mean, even now, they're one of the most comfortable tactile switches I think that you can get. But
Mhm.
at the same time, I think we can move on from the Holy Panda as a community.
Yeah, they're not as holy as they used to be. So I'll let them listen to it with some cherry profile PBT keycaps on. And this is on the MW65. It's a stacked acrylic build, so it's not amplifying a lot of the sounds that come from the Switch. If you put this in a full aluminum case that's like tray mount, it's gonna sound a lot louder, in my experience. Because I put all my Holy Pandas in a Tofu 65.
Yeah, with a tray mount, stiff mounting system, and then with even with a brass plate, yeah, they're gonna be nice and loud.
Yeah, exactly. It was a brass plate actually. Okay, next would be probably the Glorious Panda, the new Panda competitor in the big market.
Yeah, so both supposedly might be made by Texi, but
What?
the Glorious one to me does feel a little bit more tactile. That might be because it's actually unlubed, and also the spring is a little bit longer and a little bit heavier.
Yeah, let me try it. Let me try it. I don't know. Perhaps, maybe. The hardest thing between all these switches is if you close your eyes, you can't really tell the difference between a lot of them, except the ones with really heavy springs or the ones with really apparent bumps. I've used a lot of Glorious Pandas. I've also used them pre-lubed, and I do not recommend them when you buy them pre-lubed from Glorious. By themselves and you put in the work to make them better, they're pretty good. Pretty good. Have you tried the lubed ones?
Haven't tried any pre-lubed ones, no. I've lubed them myself and they felt okay, similar to Holy Panda, yeah, similar
Mm-hmm.
enough anyway.
Yeah, very similar. Similar enough where you close your eyes and someone gives you a switch and you wouldn't really know the difference. All right, Glorious Panda. I would give it also in B tier.
Yeah, I agree. It's similar enough to the Holy Panda that, yeah.
It just looks a little bit more orange. And then the next one I know would be the Boba U4Ts.
Right. So Boba U4T is kind of for a lot of people was the Holy Panda killer. It was the bigger tactile bump,
More
and
thocky.
the yeah,
Thocky.
the sound for some people was better, and the price was definitely better. It
Mm-hmm.
was almost half the price, at 65 cents each.
Yeah, there a time when you couldn't buy U4Ts because they kept going out of stock?
Right now,
Oh, right now.
yeah, the only place you can get them from is from Gazoo right now,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah. I think that's where I got mine. Let me put a switch on this. They're also unlubed, right?
Yeah, they are also unlubed. I think they might lightly lube the bottom of the spring, like give it a light donut dip. Maybe a little bit on the leaf as well, but yeah, very minimal, if any, lube. It looks dry. And for me, stock, it sounds as good as a lubed Holy Panda. Like there's
Ooh.
no spring or anything. The
That's
housing kind of
saying
mutes
something.
all of the yeah, I mean, the housing for me mutes a lot of the spring ping and the leaf tick that might happen to a drop Holy Panda or a glorious one.
Mm-hmm. Oh, didn't the glorious pandas have a leaf ticking problem?
It's common with a lot of tactile switches though, so I wouldn't really,
Nothing against them in
yeah,
particular. Yeah.
nothing too much against them in particular. And at the price point, it's kind of to be expected. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Gotcha, gotcha. Sorry, my dog's barking. Okay, now I'll let them hear the U4Ts and glorious pandas. So these are glorious pandas. And these are U4Ts. So U4Ts are more low pitched in sound, but I also have them on the second row of my keyboard, so it's not an apples to apples comparison. Comparing switches, Randy, it's hard work.
especially when they're all kind of relatively similar.
Yeah. Okay, according to our criteria, U4Ts go into A tier.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I'd probably personally put them into A tier as well,
Ooh.
but it depends. Some people say they're too tactile. I prefer the 62-gram ones myself. I do think they're slightly more comfortable than the 68. It just slightly takes the edge off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially for your little weak fingers.
Yeah.
Although your fingers have like big muscles.
I would call them more like sausage fingers.
Yeah, it seems like you can't get the 62 clear ones right now, but you could get the heavier ones. Oh, darn. I don't like the heavier switches either. So those are the three that I know. And of course, you know, I know the browns. Garon browns and the Cherry MX browns. I haven't used kale browns while I was taking pictures of kale browns. I was actually really surprised that their tactile bump is so much like more pronounced than the Garon and Cherry
Yeah,
browns.
the Gatorons are actually, I think they're probably smoother of between Gateron and Cherry, but yeah, the bump really isn't quite as pronounced.
Yeah, the kale ones are more intense.
Kale ones are nice, yeah. I'm not sure if the Kale Browns suffer the same eventually turn clicky things that Box Royal does.
Oh,
But yeah, even the upcoming Box V2 Brown, that's like a 30-gram tactile drop. It's a ridiculous, supposedly going to be a ridiculous tactile switch. They're
wow.
available on drop now, I think.
Okay, I think they're sending them to me, but I'm not 100% sure. You know, I get a lot of emails and I reply to a lot of emails and then I just like drag them into folders and forget about them forever.
Yeah.
Oh,
One thing
yeah.
about the Hyperglide and Cherry Brown, though, is that it's actually a sharper and bigger bump that people might think. It just is so small. Like the distance is so small of one, it just feels like a slight little tick. But if they
Yeah,
lengthened it out, it would actually be a pretty noticeable tactile switch.
especially if you're typing fast, like you're barely gonna notice that little bump. So I don't have the normal Cherry MX Brown, but I have the SMD Cherry MX Brown. I don't think there's a difference between the two. Just one has SMD slots. Right here, little mini bumps. Whenever I lube browns, I'm really scared because I tend to over lube things, and because the bump is so small, I can mess it up
Browns
real easily.
browns are one of those that I have to, at least for a Hyperglide Brown, I have to stick a 68-gram double stage spring to kind of notice the bump a little bit more. And then I'll usually only lube the spring. I won't even touch the stem.
Yeah, that makes sense. So remind me again the difference between a retool brown and a hyperglide brown.
So Hyperglide is just a newer mold, smoother, tighter tolerances. The housing is still wobbly, and it generally feels similar enough to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know which one is which, but I can't tell the difference between which one either. Although I took
The main
pictures.
way is if you would looked at between those two, the Hyperglide has 5 pins and the Retool has 3. But the main way that you would tell is if you look at the top of the housing, the cherry logo is crisper on the Hyperglide.
All right, let's see. Is this one? It definitely has a more crisp cherry logo. So between the Retool, the Hyperglide, and the normal browns, the Hyperglides and the Retools feel significantly better. It's wonky. Now, for the sounds of the browns. That sounds a little wrong. So the browns, this is a brown Hyperglide. Wait, let me change the screen. Brown Hyperglide. Brown Retool. And just a brown. Is that a brown? That is a brown. Is that a brown? That sounds silent. Why are you silent? Oh, that's the wrong switch. My bad, my bad. Where's my brown? Okay, I seem to have made a mistake, but I will fix it right now. I have browns. Here we go. Let's see. Don't mind me. This was a very experimental situation where I bought a ton of browns and I had them lubed with different methods or with different springs. I don't just collect browns. This is the brown.
Browns are clearly the best switch then, right? You have so many of them.
That's not true. I just have a lot. Okay, now this is a real brown. It doesn't sound too bad. I really like this keyboard because it accentuates a lot of sounds rather than just makes it really loud and obnoxious. It's almost unfair.
You can really hear the spring ping on that Retool one.
Oh, really? Let me see. Oh. Oh, you're right. So none of them are lubed. They're all stock. Stock. This is the MW65. You can only buy it from Taobao, I think. Let's see. What is a fancy? Oh no, we need to put the browns on a tier list. Hyperglides are better than retools. And then the other browns, the normal browns, have such a small little tactile bump. I would put regular browns in either C or D tier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're mostly D tier for me. I would put Hyperglides in C tier just for the sound. Like Hyperglide housings or just cherry housings in general sound really nice with certain builds. And with the right spring, they do feel a little bit more tactile than with the stock spring. But yeah, they still kind of don't feel noticeably tactile enough for me personally.
Yeah, I think if you're someone that wants a tactile switch for your keyboard, then going for browns may not get you the tactility that you want. But on a pre-built keyboard, they're okay. There's certain keyboards that make browns sound not okay, and I think those are the ones with the very thin aluminum plate at the very top that just makes it ring.
With even the big built-in stainless steel plates sometimes really make it resonate, but
Mm-hmm.
the stock cherries aren't really good either, so
Yeah,
it's
it's
hard to blame the keyboards.
I know, right? Yeah, they're not the best. Although cherry's been very popular for a very, very long time. Okay, I think we dive into something that I've never put into a keyboard before. What looks really cool? Blueberries. Let's do blueberries.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do blueberries. So blueberries are very heavy, in my
Yeah, they
opinion.
are a heavy tactile switch. I think they're about 80 gram or 90 gram on the bottom mount. Let's see here. Yeah, and Novel Keys Blueberry, it's a 72 gram peak with a 90 gram bottom.
Ooh, 90 grams.
Yeah, and the actuation, it's gonna be somewhere in the the bottom would be a 55 gram bottom. So it'll feel like a 27 gram tactile drop, which is pretty heavy. But the thing with blueberries is that there's kind of two bumps.
Ooh, yeah,
So
let me show them that screen because I thought that was super interesting. Blueberries. Move this up. There we go. Blueberries have two bumps.
yeah, so it's just how the stem is shaped. Um, it bothers some people because even if you look at the graph and compare it to, let's say, the cherry brown graph, it's not very linear at all. It might be kind of distracting, the tactility. And being such a heavy switch and everything, it can be kind of be described as aggressive or violent.
A violent keyboard switch. Yeah, it's super heavy. I can't. I can't. I don't think I would like this in a keyboard just because of how heavy it is. I'm sure there are people out there that like it. Are there people out there that like it?
Some, yeah, of heavy tactility lovers. I tried it for a few months in a NK65 entry, and yeah, it was distracting.
Mm.
I didn't quite like it compared to a Holy Panda, but if you lube it up heavily, change out the spring to maybe a two-stage 68 just so it can still return the stem. I think it could be okay if you're a heavy tactility lover.
Gotcha. Okay, quick side note again. When you say dual stage spring, you mean those springs where there's a middle and then the top part looks different than the bottom part? Is that what you mean?
The dual stage spring, usually it looks like two springs stacked on top of each other.
Let me look this up. Dual stage springs keyboard. Two
Yeah,
springs
so
stacked on each other.
the main thing is that it makes it slower than a normal spring, and by slower, I just mean, it feels more consistent or a little bit more stiff, but the return is gonna be snappier. It's gonna have a
Oh, okay.
stronger return.
Gotcha.
So that sometimes makes you for the browns, it makes the tactile bump more noticeable, and on the blueberries, it rounds out the double bump.
Okay, so it'll make these double bumps feel more like a single bump, but a long single bump.
Yeah. It'll it's still noticeable, but yeah, it'll round it out a little bit, make it not quite as, awkward, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
to type on.
Gotcha. Hey, blueberries. I wouldn't use it, but someone would. Oh, I don't know. This is tough. I would put it in. It's so unique, though. I would put it in C tier. I think I would put it in C tier.
Yeah, probably C tier. For a lot of people, it'd probably be D tier, but
Yeah.
C seems fair.
I don't want to be too mean to it. I was thinking D as well, because like, who is going to use this? Especially without
Yeah,
modifications.
yeah, and they've actually been replaced by novel keys as the novel keys cream tactile. Um, it's a similar weighting, but they rounded out the bump a little bit.
That's cool. I sort of wish they named it something else, though. Novel Keys Cream Tactile. It's a
Yeah.
mouthful. Okay, here is what blueberries sound like next to a MX Brown retool. And then the MX Brown. And the blueberry. Sort of nice. Okay, let's do Zelios. They're so expensive. They used to be very well known as a pretty good tactile switch. I haven't heard them in too many places anymore. I feel like they've lost a lot of popularity that they used to have.
Yeah. So first it was Zelios V1. That was a less noticeable bump, like an MX Clear type bump. And then after Holy Panda kind of was so popular, Zelios V2 kind of jumped up in tactility. So at the time it was great, and it was a similar pricing to Holy Panda, so that's fine too. But at this point, yeah, it's too expensive for what it is, I think.
Yeah, I agree. And they're unlubed as well.
I think they should be. At most, it would be a little bit on the stem legs and this and the leaf.
Yeah.
Sometimes Gateron just does that.
Yeah, when I first got a keyboard built for me, it was a surprise build, and I didn't know what switch was in it. And I was like, "Oh, these are Gateron purples," because it says Gateron on the housing and the purple stem. So I just assumed. So I looked up Gateron purples, and then it's not a real thing. Turns out they were Zelios. It's like, oh, fancy. They're not Gateron
Oh.
purples. Yeah, I think J goes here. And then I had a really weird question because I have two Gateron purples, and one of them is a darker stem than the other stem. No, never mind. This one's not a Gateron purple. I have one Zelios. J.
Okay. Well, in that case, there is a lighter colored Zelios. Those are just different weight springs. The one
Mm.
you have, I think, is a 68 or 67 gram. The lighter one would be 62 or 65.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. So I do have the two actually. So this one's the lighter Zelios. This one's the darker one. I was so confused.
And then if there's one with an unmarked top, that's a Duroc medium tactile. They look really
Okay.
similar.
Yeah, it's so confusing. Here's N. So here are the Zelios switches. You. They sound nice. Yeah, it's all preference. I had Zelios in a full keyboard, and they like sounded too. They don't sound full. They sound like sort of really hollow sounding. It didn't have that nice bottom out sound that's satisfying. Did people say Betty's tactile gang? No, I'm linear gang. All day. I don't do tactiles anymore. I used to. I used to be all in on tactiles. I was like, oh, linears are lame. But yeah, now I'm linear. So
Linears
Zelios,
are just easy to type on.
yeah, they're OP. There's a kabillion of them. They all sound really good. It's a easy decision. Zelios, they're too expensive. But they feel okay. They probably need
Zelios
a
V2.
little. They need a little love.
Zelios V2, I think for the most part, the biggest thing that needs work is the spring.
Zelios. I would put this in either A or B. For me personally, I would put it in B. I know a lot of people like them though.
Yeah, if you're taking price into account and stuff, I'd probably put them in B.
Yeah, it is expensive. B tier, we've got so many good ones. I
That's the
hope.
market. The market is changing, but like a year or two ago, those would have been A or S tier for sure.
Yeah, it would have been like Holy Pandas and Zelios S tier. Now it's different. Yeah, let's do a budget one, like Hako switches. Confirm Zelios overrated? Yes, that's right. They are. Absolutely.
Super overrated.
I'll download the tier list and then I'll probably post it on Twitter because it's the easiest platform to share things like this. Hako, I don't have Ocean Blue. I looked for my Ocean Blues, but I remembered I sent out my Ocean Blues along with the Demon Slayer keyboard to whoever won it. I don't know who won it, but they never took a picture or anything and said, oh, thanks. So they just took it and ran. That's okay. They can do that. But I don't have Ocean Blues anymore, so like I can't really remember what they felt like. But there are statistics that we can look at. Oh, to the internet.
We can look at force curves.
That's right. Hako CS Ocean Blue. Let's see, what are we looking at? They look beautiful. So appearance wise, top notch. 3-pin. Oh, and they fit into Odomu sockets.
Yeah, these are KTT made switches. Another whose main switches, the KTT Rose and all those are already great budget switches on their own. But yeah, these Hako Tactiles are pretty not bad.
Yeah.
They're under 30 cents a piece. This one is the CS Ocean Blue.
Mm-hmm.
It's 46 gram tactile peak, 21-gram floor with a 33-gram actuation. So it's going to feel around 20 to 25 grams of a tactile drop. It's a medium tactile, light medium tactile. And the bottom out is going to be 57 grams to 60 grams.
Yeah. Seems like it's easy to type on. I have lavender here, and lavender is a little heavier than the blue. But it seems like their springs are different. So one's a 18 mil extension spring and one's a progressive spring, and I don't know what that means. Their springs.
Progressive springs, yeah, they just they feel a little bit bouncier. They're going to have a little bit more of a exponential increase in weight the more you press. So yeah, it'll feel a little bit bouncy compared to a normal switch, but with the lighter springs, you don't really notice that much.
Gotcha. Their price is pretty good. And these are also unlubed.
Mostly, yeah, should be. I'm not sure if they also do the thing with the light lube on the leaf thing. It's common with a lot of switches and tactile switches.
So even though they say unlubed, they could have just a little bit. All right. I mean, I have a lavender. It's the best I can compare it to. I also have a jelly blue, which I think is similar but not exactly the same. So it would be unfair. It would be unfair to tier list something that I haven't used. But if I were to rate it, I'd put it in probably B tier. Maybe.
Yeah, I'd go A or B tier based on price. Probably B tier because you probably still need to open it up and lube the spring a little bit. But compared to say Browns or something like that, people are probably going to like it a little bit more.
Yeah, and they're super affordable. You can put it in your Red Dragon K552. Easy peasy. So lavender's very similar. It's a very similar feeling. I'd also put that in B tier. Boom. Beautiful. Purple. Oh, wait. I need to do a sound thingy. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here is the sound of lavenders. sort of nice. I say that a lot, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that people might be turned off on is perhaps the sound. It might be too clacky for some people, but that's super subjective as well.
Mm-hmm.
But for what it is, I think it's pretty great, yeah.
Yeah, it is clacky. It has it's higher pitch, but it also like expels more sound, if that makes sense, compared to like U4Ts. That didn't make sense.
Yeah, the nylon, the nylon boba housing does mute things really well.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Randy, you can pick the next switch.
Mm.
Oh, here you
Uh,
go. There's so many.
how about, how about we try do you have the
I do. Right.
Neapolitan ice cream?
Yes. Think it's I think it's the one with the brown stem. So I have two that look very similar. And I think these are salmons, and so this is probably the Neapolitan.
Yeah, with the brown stem.
Mm-hmm.
So these are supposed to be like a Zykos inspired switch, pre-made Zykos, if you will. And Zykos is like the one of the most expensive tactile Franken switches. You make it with like either a Halo, a Panda, and a Zelios, or a Zelios and a Holy Panda.
It's like the two most expensive tactiles I know of. Just
Yeah,
combine them
it's
together.
like a $2.50 switch.
Oh, dang. That means for a full keyboard, you're spending like $150. And that's a small keyboard. They're
So if you
goaded
want like
though.
so if you want kind of like what Drop and Glorious did with their versions of the Holy Panda, this would be the pre-made version of the Zykos.
And they look pretty. Now, let me listen to it. Could use some spring lube, but I think in a keyboard it's not loud enough for it to really be bothersome. Doing this stream might make me go back to Tactile Land. They're all so nice. Alright, here's the sound of a Neapolitan. Oh, that sounds so nice.
Yeah, so what is trending right now are the long stem tactiles and long stem linears. They sound really nice and full and distinct and solid, and yeah.
Yeah, none of that hollow clack. That's good. Well.
Oh, she's turned into Tactile
Oh.
Gang again.
And what's the spring weight on it?
For the Neapolitan ice creams, they're going to be about a 63-gram bottom out. The peak is going to be 60 grams, and the actuation is going to be around 45 to 47 grams.
Okay, so not too heavy. And the main thing I don't like about tactile switches is when it gets too heavy, I have to type harder, which makes it more
These are going to
tiring.
be definitely a little bit more comfortable typing on than maybe something like a Boba U4T 68 gram, or especially that blueberry.
Oh gosh, that blueberry. Okay, I would put this in. I would put this in S tier.
Ooh, dang.
Oh, it's nice.
Neapolitan ice cream.
It's nice. It sounds so nice. I would put it in S tier.
Okay, nice. I was not expecting that.
I mean, it could be an A tier too, because I think most keyboards can, or most switches can benefit from spring lube. But unless it's really, really bothersome, just typing away and you hear like a cling, 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 then it's all right. Wait, I need to switch screens if I'm going to do this. Boop. Our first S tier. I like that we don't have anything in F yet. We're fairly nice people.
Even the Browns made D. That's
Well, I would say Brown's really stock would be F, but because you can like change the springs up to make it feel a little bit more tactile, like the bump is there, it just needs to be a little bit more pronounced.
that's right.
Yeah, that's right. No brown haters up in here. Okay. Oh, I put mute jades. Well, I didn't put mute jades in here, but I did bring them out just because last time we were like, well, they could be a tactile switch.
Yeah, they're a weird place. Not really fully clicky, not really fully tactile. Cause yeah. Where would you rate them compared to these?
They still make a really weird sound. Like here's a mute jade, but let me put a keycap on it. Okay, here is the mute jade. They don't sound terrible now that I've put them in a keyboard. They sound much worse when you put it next to your ear and you're like, oh, what is that?
Yeah.
It's still an abomination. I would not use them still. I would put that in F tier.
Ooh, okay.
It's just
dang.
so bad.
For a clicky, we had it like at a C or D tier or something. So for a tactile, it's an F. Dang.
It doesn't feel right. It doesn't sound right. You do have a nice. It's not even a nice bump. I don't know how to describe it. It's like sort of shaky. No, it's not right. It's just not right. It's going in. It's either D or F. I would not use it, even if someone gifted me a full keyboard full of them and lubed them and made them fantastic.
That sounds like an F tier for me.
See, did I take a picture of it? I might have just added it in as a bonus. Let me take. I can't take a picture of it. Yes, I can with the help of the snipping tool. Don't mind me. This is called Jank City right here. Okay, I'm gonna add this later before I downloaded it. It's going in F tier.
F. Big F in chat.
Big F. Sad, sad. This goes on the poop keyboard you made? I made no poop keyboard. I mean, I sort of did, but it was a big regret of mine, okay, that I ever came up with that idea. I should never have done that. It's not a good idea. Okay, next. I want to pick either dragon fruit or kiwis, since TKC switches have always been so overhyped. I think they're overrated. Majority of them, and I'm sure people are going to be like, no, Betty, what are you saying? But that's how I feel about TKC switches.
I think marketing is a big part of it.
Yeah, their naming conventions and their colors, top notch, just so good. But when it comes to the switch, it disappoints just a little bit. So you got kiwis. I've put kiwis on a full build, like KBD75, and I very much dislike it because it says pre-lubed, and it's bad. It's not good pre-lube. You just gotta redo that whole thing yourself. Even though it's pre-lubed, there's like a bunch of ping, and they're inconsistent, and it's... yeah.
JWK for you. They're both JWK made switches. The Kiwi, I think, is pretty close to a T1. I'm not sure if they're using exactly the same leaf or materials. I think the dragon fruits and the kiwis both share the same materials as the tangerine. So maybe like a slight whip blend, not full whip, but whip and polycarbonate or something like that.
Mystery material.
And yeah, they're pretty smooth though, snappy.
Yeah, snappy, smooth. Looks beautiful. You definitely want this in your keyboard the way that it looks. I just think it's cheating a little bit when you say prelude and you're like, oh, it is, but not really. Very beautiful housings. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, the dragon fruits, the biggest complaint I've heard on those is stem wobble. They just weren't really finished as well as the kiwi or the tangerine.
Oh, yeah, I can feel that. Okay. Since they're the same material, do they sound similar? Would you think that they sound similar?
Maybe just sort of in that they're both higher pitched, especially on the top out. But I think the spring and the tactility might change up the sound a little bit.
Gotcha. Okay, so here's what a kiwi sounds like, and then here's what a dragon fruit sounds like as well. So kiwi first. And then dragon fruit. Are they a palm stem? That's a good question.
Yeah, I think they are palm stem. Most stems should be palm unless otherwise stated. It's just a good choice because if you're going to use nylon or polycarbonate in the housing, you don't want the same coefficient of friction. Otherwise, it'll cause more friction. So yeah, palm's a good choice usually because it's going to retain its shape and it's pretty smooth against those materials.
Science. And dragon fruits don't feel as tactile either. It may be because the stem moves around a lot, so you're like missing it sometimes.
No, dragon fruits are definitely a lighter tactile. I think they're more MX Clear inspired. They're going to be a light to light medium tactile compared to the kiwi, which is T1, more aggressive.
Gotcha. So kiwis, I would put higher than dragon fruits. But the question is where? I'd put them in B tier. Kiwis.
Kiwis, yeah.
Need a little bit of love. Once you give it that loving, I'm sure it could be amazing. And then dragon fruits. Ugh. Mediocre. Yeah. Could I use it even if I wanted to? Oh, if I needed to. Yeah, I would put that in C tier. Dragon fruits in C tier. Could be D tier, actually. Could be D tier.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not
Right.
good. D tier.
It's okay sometimes to not be so nice, to be a little bit more critical.
You're right, you're right. If someone asked me if they wanted to buy dragon fruits, I would probably say no. Don't do it. Okay, what?
Try how about a box royal?
Ooh, Box Royal is the darker one. Is that right?
That's
It's a darker
that's
one.
a box switch with a purpley stem.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
so
the one on the far right there,
there's
second row
two
far
of them.
right.
So it's this
Oh,
one,
okay.
second row, far right.
Yeah, that one.
Box Royal. Let me keep thinking on this. I'm not. I personally, I don't like ever use Kale switches. They have so many, and they're all overwhelming, and I don't know which one to use. But I think these are sort of new, right, compared to the Halo Trues and the Halo other ones, the two
Yeah.
Halos.
The box version of Halo are gonna be Hako. Yeah.
Oh, the tactileness is pretty nice. I put a keycap on it. Here's what it sounds like. Hmm. How heavy is it?
For Royals, let's see. So okay, yeah. So a Kale Box Royal is apparently going to be a 75-gram peak force.
Oh, that's a lot.
Um, yeah, 75-gram peak force, 45-gram actuation, and a 70-gram bottom. It's going to be a uh, pretty sharp bump as well. But the thing with these switches, a lot of Kale Box tactile switches, is that because of the mechanism, the way that the slider hits against this little plastic thing that actually activates the leaf, it does turn clicky after a little while. So you're gonna have to relube them
Oh, wow.
after a while. It's a common thing.
Oh, that's interesting. I haven't ever used them like long enough for that to happen. Oh, that's sort of annoying.
Yeah, even if you look up,
How long though? Like
oh,
several months, several
not even
years?
several months. Like some of them might be out of the box like that, just because the lubing could be so inconsistent. Some of them just like yeah, a week or two of typing, and then you just move the lube around, and boom, they start clicking.
What?
It's
Just
not all
boom.
of them, obviously. It's just like going to be some keys might click more than others, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's inconsistent.
But then you'll be like, oh, I don't like the way this key feels. I'm just gonna replace all of them. I have a lot of Kale box tactiles here. There's burnt orange, there's a violet, Hako violet, and then this one's a mystery one. I don't even know what this one is. Just like black bottom, clear top, and then a white stem. I don't know. It's very strongly tactile. It's a mystery switch. Sometimes I have those. But it's the
Yeah,
heaviest
when I
one
first
of
saw
them
the
all.
picture, I almost yeah, when I saw the picture, I almost mistook it for a V2 box white because of the smoky top housing.
Mm-hmm.
But that might be one of their newer switches. I'm not really sure.
Or one of their such old and
Yeah.
unwanted that they were like, yeah, we don't sell this anymore. They have those. So there's a bunch of that's the heaviest one, and then there's violet. I'm just gonna compare them all at once. Burnt orange is really heavy too. Heavy and tactile for me is like I'm not gonna use it.
Yeah, it can be kind of distracting, especially when the peak, they'll advertise it as maybe like 45-gram actuation or like 60 something gram bottom out. But the peak, if the peak is 80 or 75 grams, then it's a 75-gram switch.
Yeah, it's not a 45-gram switch when it feels that heavy.
Yeah.
Let me put switches on all of them and then we can listen to them. Okay, here's burnt orange. Box royal. The violet. And brown. Okay. The heavier ones I would put into either D or F. Probably D, because I think someone could use them.
Yeah, at the time when they were released, they were pretty decent because it was like the Royal, at least I believe, came out after the Jade, and they wanted basically a tactile that felt like a Jade. Um, it has a similar tactile drop, maybe I'd say, but it doesn't really. It's not really a good analog for that, I would
Yeah,
say.
it doesn't have the nice, like, very crisp tactility.
Mhm.
I mean, if you want that, you can use a mute jade.
But they're F
Abomination.
tier, so don't do that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. Let's see. Okay, so violet is lighter weight. The tactility is pretty small to the point where I would start comparing it to the browns. So I would put that in. I don't know. I would put it in D. Maybe no. I would put orange in F, and then that box royal in F, and then I would put violet in D.
Just for the lighter, slightly lighter weight.
Yeah, it's like easier to use. It wouldn't just be like, I'm banging my hands now.
Yeah.
And then the brown does not feel tactile. I would put that in F as well. The box brown.
We got more F tier now.
I know. I think we're going to have a lot more F tier as we keep going. Let's move on to Alias. When I first got into keyboards, I was like, oh, a silent switch, that's, sexy silent switch. So I had an Alias on a switch tester and I tried it and I was like, yeah, that's the one. So I bought a ton of them, put them in the keyboard, soldered it. And then after I used it, I was like, oh, this is sort of gross feeling. Like, it doesn't make a satisfying sound. It doesn't feel super tactile. The tactility is like super small. And
Do you have the 100-gram version, or which version do you have? Because I
I,
know there's a
w-
100-gram Alias
I was
that's like,
using a lighter weight one, but the switch tester that I had like went from lightest to heaviest. It got ridiculous. So they're silent, they're barely tactile, and they sound like this, which, you probably won't even hear it because of how silent they are. Silent switches. Not as sexy as I thought they were.
just a kind of thud, padded kind of thud, scratchy, pingy.
Yeah, exactly. Scratchy pingy. How mushy? They are very mushy. That's why I was like, oh, these feel gross. So nowadays, if I were to recommend a silent switch, it would probably not be this one. I would put this in F tier. We're being a little mean now.
I think Alias is definitely one of those that I would throw in F tier, though, for sure.
You agree. Let's see, there's another silent here. There's a silent silent brown. Gateron silent brown. Let's see, it's a T. I wouldn't say it's much better. It's just as mushy. Similar, less tactile even. And sounds like this. If you hit it at just the corners, you might get some sound out of them. So I would throw that also into F tier. And while we're here, we might as well talk about all these browns, because there's a lot of browns. Got Gateron brown, Gateron milky brown, kale brown, and then there's that silent brown. That's all going. It's all downhill from here. Are there significant differences between Gateron brown and Gateron milky brown?
It's just the housing material. Depending on the batch to batch, one might be slightly smoother than the other, but generally speaking, they're going to be the same. At least feeling, yeah.
Yeah, feeling very similar. And then kale brown is better. Kale Brown's a winner. They did something with that one.
Yeah, Kale does a little bit better job on their tactility, I think.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to throw the browns also in F tier. Well, I don't know. Maybe it would be D tier. I'll throw the browns in D tier. And then for the kale brown, I'll put it in a better place. C tier. One of these is kale brown. They all look the same. There we go. Starting to fill up.
I appreciate too that you're putting all the keycaps in the right spots and everything.
Yeah, I'm doing a better job this time. Last time I really messed up. I think I put this key. Someone corrected me. They said I had the M in the wrong place. Okay, so I think there are a few down here that are gonna get into S and A tier. However, I just don't know which ones yet. We've yet to experience them. So, did you watch all the reviews for the Drop Holy Panda X?
I did. I watched quite a few of them. Yeah, the Brandon Taylor one, and yeah, that was one that really stuck out to me just because he noted how pingy it was.
Very, yeah. I sent feedback to someone from Drop, and they said they're gonna try and really work on that.
Yeah, and he also noted how that it was the shorter stem. It was a shorter stem pole than the actual Holy Panda, which to me, it's a long stem pole is kind of a huge part of the Holy Panda identity.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, then yeah, I read Theremin Goat's review, and he had all the measurements and everything, and that confirmed it.
So they took the Holy Panda name, but it's not really a switch that belongs in the Holy Panda family or the Panda family.
Yeah, so uh, it's not. First of all, it's not holy because it doesn't have a halo stem. It's not a panda because it's not a panda housing.
So what is it?
It's made by Gateron. It doesn't have the long stem pole, and the tactility is bigger and more pronounced. Uh, the Quakems compared it to a rounder U4T. Um, and I think Theremin Goat said Neapolitan ice cream is the closest feeling, one of the closer feelings to Drop Holy Panda or the Drop Holy Panda X. So yeah, it really isn't a Holy Panda at all, but they use the name. It's kind of yeah a Holy Panda line now, I guess. And I'm assuming it's just for the drop 10-year anniversary that they made this.
Oh, that's why they called it X. So it's Holy Panda 10.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a Gateron X housing, like polished rails or something like that, but it's not. So I also was confused why the X, but 10 years drop anniversary sounds like a legitimate explanation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, why it would be 10.
Yeah, and they also use X kind of commonly in their stuff too, so like their headphones.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, my main complaint was how pingy it was. 'Cause they should have just really sold it unlubed and advertised it that way, and that way no one would be like, wow, it's super pingy. But here's how a Drop Holy Panda X sounds like compared to a Neapolitan and a U4T. U4Ts sound nice.
Mhm.
See, where did we put our Holy Panda? We put our Holy Pandas pretty high up. B tier. So yeah, these do not belong in B tier.
Oh, okay.
They belong in C tier.
Ooh.
More mediocre-ish. I don't know. I feel like they shouldn't have used the Holy Panda name if they weren't going to make it Holy Panda-ish. So that would make it quite mediocre.
Yeah, so if you're gonna factor in price and feeling, I feel like there are maybe some alternatives that might do your wallet a little bit more justice. But um, if you're into the if you want to try a new Gateron switch, and you know that Gateron makes good switches, and they'll probably do a good job with the Tactile. Don't call it a Holy Panda, and I think it's fine.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. The tactility is great. I think if they called it something else, like what does black and yellow remind you? Like a bumblebee switch or something.
Yeah.
The drop B switches instead of giving it a name that.
Call it black gold or something. Even,
Yeah, black gold. That's a great name for a switch. How expensive it is too. Yeah, I
and
think.
it's on sale right now too. Only going to get more expensive.
Yeah, switches are crazy. Yeah, I would put it in C tier. Boop. And then we have one that looks similar to that called TTC Sapphires.
Yeah.
I bought a ton of those.
So TTC Sapphires, I think these have, let's see.
Take them out. They're pretty.
Yeah, long stem, tactile, palm stem, and polycarbonate housing, polycarbonate blend housing. If you got the V2s, then the V2s are umlip stem.
Oh, let me check. I got V1s.
So V1s are palm stem. They're also going to be longer stem than the V2s are.
And they're glittery and they're pretty. And I have 70 of them now.
Yeah, they're actually a pretty popular tactile switch.
Are they pretty cheap? I don't remember them being too expensive when I picked them up.
Yeah.
I didn't like inwardly cringe at
Yeah, so these are 50 cents per switch, $5 per 10 TTC made tactile switch. And I mean, TTC are the ones that are supposedly making the Holy Pandas and the ones making the Glorious Pandas and all these great tactile switches. So you can trust a good tactile TTC switch.
It's a little on the lighter side compared to the pandas, the drop holy pandas and the glorious pandas. And here's what it sounds like, 'cause I think it'll be good. Pretty decent. Pretty decent. It doesn't like scream "you must buy me," but it doesn't scream "I hate you" either.
I think they're a pretty safe switch.
Yeah, they're very safe. Which means, I would put them in A tier. Light
Nice.
enough to use on the daily. Maybe you can do some spring lube with it, but there's nothing about it that turns you away. It's pretty affordable. Boop. Nothing has touched S yet, still.
As it should be, as it should be.
That's true. You're right. Okay, what about the T1s? I wasn't able to find my J-Wick T1s, but I did some research on it. And they're more affordable than Duroc T1s.
Yeah. So yeah, they're basically the J-Wick T1s are the 27-cent or 30-cent version of T1s. They use a full nylon housing and probably a different leaf. To me, they feel a little bit stronger and a little bit more tactile than normal T1s, but they're very pingy and noisy stock, so they need a lot of work. They're unlubed, unlike the normal T1s, which are lubed, and Kiwis as well. So I would probably I would rank them around the same as a normal Duroc T1, just because the plus and the pros and cons balance each other out.
Yeah, it's super affordable. T1s were one of my first legit tactile switch. I think I bought a bunch on Amazon because I didn't know any better, but they're super overpriced on Amazon. Don't buy them on Amazon. Not a good place.
Yeah.
But they're nice and tactile.
Yeah. So
and
T1s,
they need to be filmed.
Yeah, T1s and like JWKs need some work, I would say. Film and relubing.
Yeah, I agree. And here's what T1 sound like. They're nice and talky, pretty deep sounding, quite muted.
They don't have the long stem, so they're much more quiet than Holy Pandas or U4Ts.
Oh, that makes sense, yeah. T1s, where would you go? Where would you put them? I feel like I'm too biased for this one. Yeah.
I think they're a safe switch. I'd put them at a C or a B. Depends on how heavy of a tactile you like. If they're not comfortable enough to daily drive, I would put them in a C tier.
Mm-hmm.
If you think you could daily drive them, I'd put them in a B tier.
Ooh, that's tough. I've daily driven them and they're too heavy for me personally. So I guess they're going C tier. Boop. All right, we're finishing it off with, I don't know, like 20 more switches. Let's do Everglide Moyu Black, which is this one. Very clean looking switch.
It's another long stem, very tactile switch. Super sharp tactility. Very expensive too.
How much?
90 cents to $1.
Ooh, yeah, that's a lot. If I had to make a tactile switch that felt like a box jade, it would probably be this. It's crispy.
Yeah, it's nice and crisp, sharp,
Mm-hmm.
sharp bump.
And it has quite the sound too, just by itself.
Yeah, it's a very distinct sound from all the builds that I remember.
Let's hear it. A little on the loud side.
Oh.
No doubt about that. All right, Everglade Moyu Black. Hot dang. It's so on the loud side. Nice and tactile. You can hear, can you hear the switch as I'm talking to you? It's just me pressing on it. It's like loud. Ooh.
Not really a stream switch.
Yeah, this one's a struggle. I really like the way that it sounds and feels, but to use on the daily, I probably wouldn't do it. Just because it's so loud. But if I were worked by myself in my room all by myself, I'd be like, yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, I think for sharp tactility lovers, it's got to be A tier. But if you can't handle the sharp tactility or like just the strength of the bump itself, then yeah, it's probably lower, B or C or something.
Ooh. It sounds so nice. I would put it in A tier with the caveat that if you work with somebody else, you shouldn't get it.
That's fair.
Okay, let's do an intermission because I need to go use the bathroom. Oh, BRB. But Randy
BRB.
can talk to you if you're not taking an intermission as well.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'll be right back.
Cat, you got any questions? My day was all right. It was kind of long, kind of busy and stuff in the beginning, and I'm still not done working. But yeah, this is pretty fun though. Make a switch more quiet. It depends. If you do an O-ring, you're definitely going to quiet the bottom out, but you're not going to do anything for the top out sound, so you'll still have a clacky top out. One of the biggest things that you can do to dampen sound, honestly, is lube. Lubing the top housing, especially. So if you open up and lube your switches, lube the stem and the top housing for sure. That'll quiet up a little bit. And if you want to dampen the clack of the bottom out, then yeah, you're probably going to have to either get an O-ring or do a trampoline mod. A trampoline mod is when you cut O-ring and you put it in the little hole that's in the bottom housing where the stem goes. I am not a linear or tactile guy, really. I just use all the switches. I don't really prefer one or the other. I have to use mostly silent tactiles recently, just because living at home, I don't want to work. You don't want to like bother everyone when you're working and stuff. So lately, I've been using silent tactiles, but I started out as clicky gang.
Clicky gang. What are you doing, Randy? No, I welcome it.
Yeah, I mean, I like box jades a lot, like a lot. I switch them back and forth between multiple builds, but they were the first legitimate switch that I bought outside of a keyboard, like outside of a pre-built. So I got a soft spot for jades.
They are S tier.
They are S tier.
What do you think about cotton candy? I have no idea what they are, but let me look them up. Cotton candy switches. So many food switches. Let's see, it says they are lightly tactile that both linear gang and tactile gang can enjoy. Oh, that's an interesting copy. If someone is going to say that both linear and tactile gang can enjoy, it must be very lightly tactile. Manufactured.
At least in the case of JWK or Duroc light tactile, it's kind of their take on a brown. I don't know if this is going to be the same stem or anything like that, but
I need.
if there's a force curve, we could tell you more.
Yeah, I need more information. There's a Reddit post. You know, you can trust that. Oh, never mind. It's just someone trying to sell them. That doesn't count. Let's listen to a sound test. I'll send it over to you, Randy. Here you go. Let's see.
Sound all right.
Yeah, they sound all right.
Like that light JWK clackiness, kind of plasticky.
Yeah, definitely has a plasticky clack. It's all right. Let me look at that price again. $6.50 for 10. And he sells them lubed and filmed. It's not a bad price for something modded already.
Yeah, if they are pre-lubed and filmed, then wait.
It's a lubed exclusive.
Lubed and filmed is $12.99 per 10.
Oh, what? Oh, stock is $6.50. Oh, that's expensive.
I think if you really like brown level tactility, they could be good for you.
Yeah. If you don't want to mod your own switches, you can pay them to be modded. You do have a gold-plated spring. It's fancy. I would say I'm not into it, but someone could be. Someone could be into it.
Yeah, without trying them, I'd probably say C or D.
Yeah.
But if you're really into browns and stuff like that, they're probably going to be like a B tier. Probably going to have to do some lube and film work, um, if they're selling them also lubed and filmed.
Oh wait. My screen is being weird. Bring back Randy. Just some technical difficulties. I just lost Randy for a little bit. And you're back.
I've been falling for 30 minutes.
You're back. Yeah, well, Randy went bye-bye. He's back now. I have so much stuff going on my computer that it takes a lot of computer stuff. Which, yeah. Okay, what is next? These beautiful blue switches. I think one's blue velvet and the other one is TTC Night Sakura.
Oh yeah, that it's
Oh,
I marked it as KTT Night
oh
Sakura, but it might not
KTT.
actually. Yeah, it might actually. It's actually not made by KTT. It's just was in a group buy with a bunch of KTT switches.
Oh, okay.
The manufacturer, I think, it's officially it's a mystery manufacturer, but some people in the community have done like some really good research and have found that it might be the same switches or it might be the same factory as Lumia. If that doesn't mean anything to you, don't worry about it.
Yeah, it
But it's a,
doesn't. I'm just gonna nod and smile.
but yeah, mystery Chinese manufacturer, tactile switch inspired by Holy Panda. But it's a cool blue housing.
Long stem with a nice loud bottom out sound.
Yeah, so that's Night Sakura. And then Texi Blue Velvet, that's made by Texi. They're the makers, again, the makers of Holy Panda. So it's going to be a good tactile switch.
It's gonna be
It's
good.
also nice price at 47 cents.
Ooh, yeah, that is good. Night Sakura is the name. So Night Sakura sounds a lot like... it's very different than... Sounds like Holy Pandas. Night Sakura. And then here's a Holy Panda. And then here's Blue Velvet. Everyone's learning. We're all learning here.
Sounds like a long stem tactile to me.
It does. I love it. I really like long stem switches of all kinds. I have a soft spot in my heart for them, even though I don't ever use them. So Blue Velvet is pretty lightly tactile compared to Night Sakura. They sound pretty good. Okay, I've got my decisions. I would put Night Sakura in B tier.
Nice.
Yeah, could use a little bit of no. I would could be an A tier. Could use a little bit of. It's not rough at all. It's quite smooth. It just could use some spring lube. Put that in A tier. It's nice and pretty. And then the other one, I would put it in C tier.
Okay. Yeah, it is a little rough in the stock form.
Yeah. Have you lubed and did all the stuff to it before? It's pretty good.
I've lubed basically 5, lubed and filmed 5. It's they're pretty decent. I mean, not too much to say about them. I think they're pretty comfortable to type on. But yeah, the spring is definitely pingy stock. It does sound kind of scratchy. It doesn't feel as scratchy as it sounds.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think that's common with some of these mid-level switches.
Now that you say that, it would be pretty comfortable to type on. I agree. It would be very comfortable to type on, which would make me rank it higher into B tier. It's moving on up in life. That's right. Blue Velvet, B tier. Got a few left. By a few, I mean a lot. I've got a lot left. Let's do, I think there's a Ooh, there's another silent one that we forgot. The Boba U4 no. Yeah. No. What was it?
Yeah, Boba U4, right?
Just a Boba U4. Yeah.
Oh, there's also Silent Sky, right?
Okay. You're just gonna have to tell me which one's which.
Let's see. Silent Sky is clear top, blue bottom, kind of translucent stem. It says
Clear,
Otomu on the housing.
clear top blue.
Might not be loaded in.
Yeah, yeah. That may have been one of the switches that I didn't find.
Okay.
Cause I.
Yeah,
Oh wait,
it
is
was
it this
just.
one? Is this one?
Let me see. Sorry, there's a little.
Little delay, and it's quite small. Like a
Yeah,
clearish
yeah. So
top, bluish.
that's gonna be the Otomu Silent Sky, and that's the precursor to Boba U4. It's one of the first switches that Gazoo worked on when he was over with Otomu.
Oh wow.
It's slightly lighter tactility. I think it's a little bit more comfortable to type on than Boba U4, but it doesn't sound as good because of the housing and the spring.
Mm-hmm. But it's also a silent switch, so it doesn't really need to sound very good.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put that on the side. I only want to use one U slots today. And then what was this one? The other Gazoo silent? This one's U4.
Yeah. So that one's the other one's going to be Boba U4.
Oh,
One of the strongest tactile silent switches out there. It's maybe only matched by TTC Silent Bluish White, not in the spring weight, but the actual bump itself. Yeah, it's very tactile. It's got like a 30 gram tactile drop. Sounds pretty good. It doesn't feel as mushy as other silent switches. Um, yeah, that doesn't really need to be lubed. You can lube it, but too much lube kind of can make it sluggish or have this weird sound where the dampeners kind of stick to the top housing.
oh, like gooey.
Yeah.
I got on a phone call with Gazoo once. Not a phone call, a Discord call. And he was showing me his lube methods where you like donut dip the spring and then you squeeze little rice lubes in the housing and then you smush it together. It was really interesting and I tried it out. I think I was too unskilled to do it consistently where he would do it right and I would just like mediocrely be able to do it. It's a hard skill.
It's kind of difficult too because rice grain means so many different things to so many different people.
Mm-hmm. Depends
And
on the grain of, or even like the country or the rice that you're using.
yeah, and yeah, and so especially with lube, and then do you even spread it? If you just leave it there, sometimes the stem just like wipes it to the bottom, kind of thing. It doesn't really distribute. Uh, yeah, so if it's definitely dependent on skill level, but it can be faster, I guess, than um, just actually hand brushing.
Yeah, yeah. It saved a ton of time. It just wasn't very good compared to hand lubing.
Yeah, for me right now, I just pretty much just open up lube springs, and then at most I'd lube the stem, and that's about it.
Yeah, same. Don't mind me. I just have to grab a 1U keycap for the side. Okay. End key. And for anybody wondering, these are Kinetic Labs Hippo switches designed by Hippotech. Not an ad. It's not an ad. They're just quite cute. Gamball says Betty's at a disadvantage from Texas long grain. I actually only eat jasmine. I'm very picky. So,
Jasmine's delicious.
yeah, jasmine's like best rice. No one can argue with that. Best rice. Okay, here are the silent ones. You probably won't hear anything, but here you go. What was the precursor to U4?
Silent Sky.
Silent Sky. and then U4. Very silent. Very silent.
Yeah, so just between the two, you can already tell like the silent sky is a little bit more harsh, even though it's a silent switch, and the spring ping is there. So
yeah, U4s are superior. If you're going for a silent tactile, you really want it, I would put it in S tier.
ooh, yes.
Yeah. I don't know any other silent tactile that could like be better.
Just for me is TTC Silent Bluish White. You didn't get sent those. I didn't get them in time to send you those, and yeah, but they're when you try the bluish white, the regular bluish white, just imagine it being silent.
Oh, okay. Just imagine it being silent. It's a hard thing to imagine. Rice tier list when? I don't know.
Rice
I only
fearless.
eat jasmine. I like basmati, I guess, but okay, let's move on to TTC Bluish White then. You've been raving about it.
Well, oh, be careful though. There's two types of bluish white. There's regular bluish white, which only has a silenced bottom. The top out is clacky, and then there's silent bluish white, which is the full silent switch, which I like a lot.
So is this a normal bluish white?
Yeah, if you can hear the clack on top out, then it's a normal bluish white.
Okay, yes. We've got a normal one.
So what I recommend for those is if you can't stand the weird sound is you take out the rubber dampener that's in the bottom hole. It's tedious, but yeah.
They have an interesting mechanism. It's so even on the normal ones, there's still a dampener on it?
Yeah, so if you open up the switch, if you open up the switch and look at the bottom housing, the center mast or the stem hole where the stem pole goes into, at the very bottom of that, there's a little silicone rubber dampener, and that dampens the bottom out of the switch. It's kind of like a trampoline mod.
Oh, okay. And for us who are very new to keyboards here, maybe myself, what is trampoline mod?
You take an O-ring that you would normally use for like for O-ring modding, and then you cut a little section of it and you put it in the bottom of the stem hole to pad the stem.
Okay.
So it's a way to silence it, and also you kind of simulate long bottom out, but it's if it was dampened. So yeah, it basically it does that. It makes it into a silent bluish white.
Okay, thank you,
It's
thank
kind of
you.
weird. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It kind of is like a Topra in a way, but not.
Yeah, but not. Topra is very special.
Yeah.
It's unique. I don't know if I have thoughts on it yet. Let me hear this thing. Oh.
That's exactly my thoughts too.
Why? Why would you do that?
It's like a delayed reaction kind of thing for me, a delayed effect. It's weird.
It's like just the switch by itself. It's like, oh, this isn't bad. But then when you type on it and start pressing it in a keyboard, it's like, oh, what is that? That feels weird. Okay, TTC Bluish White. It's an anomaly. It's a why did you make this? It's a maybe. Do you think if there's trampoline mod, that means somebody out there really wanted this. They really wanted it.
Yeah, it's also in their TTC Gold Blue or Silver Blue. One of their blue clicky switches also has a dampener in the bottom. It's kind of interesting.
Wait, we lost Randy on this screen. I was missing something. There we go. Randy's back.
Hello.
Okay. I would put it in D tier. I'm not into it. Maybe someone would be.
Yeah.
going.
They're C or D tier stock for me too. I wanted to like them a lot as they are, but I just prefer the silent ones so much, and I prefer them undampened so much that this one's just weird.
Yeah, it's wrong. It's just wrong. Okay, we have. Let's see, what do we have? We have a salmon. Salmons are nice. Maybe we'll do the Kono Midnight. It's new.
Okay.
It looks cool. I think I've seen it in a Bad Seed video where maybe he's making a switch that looks very similar to a Kono Midnight.
Yeah, speaking of loud switches, this is another loud tactile.
Let me look it up. Kono Midnight switches. They're out of stock, of course.
Yeah, I don't have very much information on these. They didn't really list a whole lot of info. I think they're around a 67 gram, 68 gram bottom out. And it's a strong T1 like tactile. That's all I know about it. It's 85 cents each.
Yeah, it's produced by JWK. And it says that they have a custom formula grease for reduced noise and smooth travel. I'm guessing that just means it's pre-lubed.
But it's not that silent from what I remember. Yeah.
Now let's put a switch on it. If you remember correctly, yeah, I don't think it's that silent either.
Yeah, Gamble has had a build of those, and they were
What did you think?
Yeah, loud as, clacky as.
Very clacky, so clacky. But they look cool. They look really good. They look really good. Sometimes
they're
I
kind
would.
Of like the. Sorry, no, they're kind of like the tactile brother or whatever of the JWK Queen.
Queen.
Yeah, red and black.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So cool colorway.
Yeah, very cool. Sometimes I wish all of the S tier switches just had a bunch of colorways, so you could be like, yeah, I think that looks cool. Let me put that in my keyboard. Okay, Kono Midnight. Loud. How much did you say they were? Like 60 something cents?
85 cents.
Oh, never mind. Oh, they're expensive.
Quite expensive, yeah.
Very expensive. A little clacky, very loud. I would put these also in D tier. Because they look cool. They look cool.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. We'll speed run through a few of these. What about Hako Jelly Blue? Very affordable.
Oh, yeah, they're affordable, and they should have a double bump similar to Blueberry, but obviously a lighter spring.
Yeah, much lighter spring. Let me see. Hako Jelly Blue. Ooh, dual tactile bump. And they're unlubed. I think they're unlubed.
Yeah, they might have that inconsistent JWK lubing on them.
Gotcha. Yeah, here's what these sound like.
Or no, those are. Oh wait, no, those are the CS Jelly Oceans. Yeah, those are unlubed.
Yeah. You don't feel the double bump in this one very much. Not very pronounced. But they are very cheap, and I like cheap.
We do love a bargain.
We love bargains here. I'd put them in probably B or C. Probably C. I would put them in C. I'd put them in C. They're not as good as the nice stuff.
Yeah, I'd rank it probably alongside the J-Wick as well. Yeah. Similar
There.
pricing. It's just do you want one that's more tactile or less tactile?
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's do... I think this is an Cherry MX Clear. Right there.
Oh, so stock clear, 90-gram spring clear.
Yeah, very heavy switch. I've used a keyboard full of MX Clears, and they are very, 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 very fatiguing to use. They don't sound amazing either.
Yeah, so I mean, MX Clears actually never even got a retool housing. They like molds. They've just had the same mold this whole time or something.
I mean, no one really wants them that much.
Yeah, I mean, the people really only use them after you swap the spring into something more comfortable, like a 62 to 67 gram spring, called a Ergo Clear.
I've heard of those. So MX Clear. You know, they're MX Clears. They're cherry switches. They're nothing fancy. I'd put them in D tier. They're too heavy. There's no way in heck you could get me to use this ever again.
Yeah, they rank kind of low for me too. Even spring swapped and stuff, I think there's better alternatives to use unless you really just want that sound.
It's not a desirable sound. It's now that we say that, I'm putting it F tier. It's not a desirable sound, even if you make it comfortable to type on. Okay, let's do whatever this one is. You told me the name of it, but I don't remember. This one, let me pull it out. It's got like a cerulean blue bottom with a...
Oh, that's the Ethereal Panda.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's the B-Sun. It's they make all the Panda housings. Well, them and Texi, I guess. But yeah, they made all the Panda housings. Ethereal Panda is a Holy Panda kind of clone, made by the brand is SOC, and yeah, to me it just feels heavier, um, a little bit more aggressive than the normal Holy Panda. Yeah, looks pretty.
Yeah, it looks very
Nothing
pretty.
too
Yeah.
much.
I like the
Nothing too
branding at
much
the
else
top
to say about
too.
it. Yeah,
The
ethereal.
ethereal is nice. Yeah, very fancy. Yeah, a little on the heavier side. I think someone... Yeah, this is gonna be a VOD someday. I just don't know when. I have like 3 editors working on like 3 videos right now, and then it's just there's a lot going on. And here's...
Making moves.
I know we're making videos, lots of them, a lot of them at the same time. I'm so loud. I dig it. It's on the heavier side. Feels nice though. Sounds nice.
Expensive side as well, 90 cents ish,
Oh,
95 cents.
oh, that is the
Yeah, they're fancy
expensive.
Holy Panda. So
Yeah, very expensive. You can get the same thing for a Holy Panda. They sound a little bit different. I would put them in... maybe C tier. Although
yeah,
they
it's
could
one of
be
those.
in B tier. They could.
It's definitely one of those where it's cheaper probably than sourcing the individual parts to make a Holy Panda yourself. And if you really like the color, then they're really cool. Other than that, yeah, if the price is too much, then go with something else.
They are really cool. I put them in B. They're very, very cool. Okay, let's do SP Star Magic Girl. Or SP... Yeah, SP
Yeah,
Star Magic Girl. They come in various recolors.
they do, and they should just be a pretty nice, snappy tactile.
Yeah, they're more on the muted side, less loud bottom out sound.
It'd be a 58 gram actuation, 67 gram bottom. I'm thinking the peak force is, oh wait, tactile. Yeah. So I'm thinking the peak force probably it's only probably like a 15 or 20 gram peak,
It's
like
not
a
too bad.
tactile drop rather. So yeah, not the heaviest tactile ever, but definitely noticeable and snappy.
Mm-hmm. And they're pre-lubed, but lightly, very lightly pre-lubed. And the containers they come in are pretty cool. Like all the other TKC stuff.
Yeah, love the color. Very cool.
It also comes in that dark Magic Girl color. I think it's purple and black.
Yeah.
So
Based on the DSA Magic Girl keycap series.
mm-hmm. So these are SP Star Magic Girls. It's a pretty good switch. Pretty nice. Ooh. Let me listen to that again. I could probably use that on the reg. I would put that in A tier.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, they're pretty comfortable and fun tactile switch to use.
They sound kind of deep. I think someone asked about VODs. I download all the VODs off Twitch and then I'll upload them to the VODs channel. No one knows about the VODs channel because I don't advertise the VODs channel. But all the VODs just like are not edited. They come straight into there. And then the Switch and Click has all of the edited down stuff where you can, more easily consume the content that we talk about. Although it is pretty dank Switch content wherever you watch it. Because we like to dive into the surface level switches.
Super dank nar.
Yeah, that's right.
Uh,
Let's see, what are we doing? Ooh, purple pandas.
cool, yeah. Purple pandas are Texi, 3 mm travel, so they're shortened travel, kind of like speed pandas.
Speed.
Yeah, people like them. They're fairly well priced. They had a crazy sale at one point where it was like $2 for a pack of 70 switches.
What?
I
That's
know.
insane. I would have bought like 10 packs. $20.
And yeah, pretty decent Holy Panda type switch.
Yeah, they sound nice. They feel nice. Let me listen to them, but I think I would put them in A tier.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Where would you put them?
Probably B.
Oh, wait, let me listen. Let me listen. Okay, I agree. B tier it is. They're going in.
I like how they feel. They could yeah,
They could
sound a little
use a
better.
little TLC. I think these are Navy R1.5. So someone forced me to buy a while back. And yes, I did buy them. I had to ship them all the way from Singapore. And the shipping prices were insane.
Singapore.
They were sold out all over. Only get them in one place. And Indy wants to say hello. Right, let me remove the cat. navy. Navy spelled in a weird way. Navy spelled Naevy instead of Navy.
Yeah, it's AE boards came out with it, so yeah, their gimmick is everything is spelled with AE. It's a Panda housing. I'm not sure if it's B Sun Texi or the Panda factory that made it, but it's one of those three. Um, and it's a like a light or medium tactile, I think. Pretty light spring. Like
Yeah, very lightweight.
I think it's under 60 gram bottom out, like 50 or 55 bottom out. Actuation is around 35 or 40 grams, I think, something like that. Pretty, yeah. If you like light tactiles, it should be pretty nice.
All right, I like light tactiles. Let's see. It's a nice sound. I like light tactiles, but I don't know this light. So I would put these. I'd put these in. I don't know. It's tough when you like them, but you don't know if you would use them. I put them in B tier.
Yeah, fair enough.
Although if I like lighter weights, I would put them somewhere up here. I like them a lot. Sounds nice. Sounds deep. Okay, we have a few more, and they are Everglide Oreos, which I bought from Drop because I had a bunch of Drop money laying around. So I was like, oh, let me pick up some tactiles. But I never used them because they're super mediocre and need a lot of care. What do you think, Randy?
So Everglide Oreo, Everglide is also made by JWK. Oreos, I think, is also based on T1. Not 100% sure. I never saw a force curve for it. But let's see, initial for actuation is 55 grams. Yeah, they should be pretty, I don't know, pretty safe, I guess.
Yeah, pretty safe if you give them a lot of love. I think there's a lot of spring ping. It's not bad. It's all right.
Everglide, Duroc, Jwick, JWK, C3, typically I'll need lube and film.
Yeah.
Or at least people like to do it regardless, but
Yeah, they're not terrible. Means I would put them in probably B tier as well.
yeah.
A lot of these are probably going to go into B tier. No, actually not a lot. Whatever this one is, I think it's a weird kale heavy purple heavy burgundy, something like that.
Thought Thumbs is asking, are they worth it? Or are there better options? Or no, Flying Frog is asking that. I would say that at the price, you could probably find something better. They're 70 cents a piece. $48 for a 70 pack on Drop.
Yeah, there's better out there. Like some of the switches that we've looked at here. I think Texi Sapphires are cheaper.
Yeah, much cheaper, 50 cents a piece.
Yeah, and they are nice. So in terms of worth, probably not. Probably not if you're looking to be a little frugal and save some money and get better. Get better out there. Okay, I have these weird kale heavy purples that I very much don't like because of how heavy they are. But I also don't know what they are. So if you know what they are.
Probably kale heavy, either kale heavy pro purples or like plum or something like that.
Okay.
Let's see.
Kale heavy pro purples. That whole saying is just wrong. A pro switch, but it's a heavy switch, but it's just wrong.
Yeah, I think if they're a lighter colored purple stem, then I think they're gonna be the pro purple. Um, Otherwise it's gonna be a heavy sage, a heavy pro sage, or yeah, not heavy pro plum.
Okay, yeah, I think the one up here is pro purple, and the one down here is the plum one. I also bought these because I had drop money laying around. Never use them because I don't like them. I would put them in F tier. Especially the dark ones. The dark ones belong in F tier. They're so heavy. It's not right. It's not right. So we got 4 more.
It looks like the tactile force on those are 70 grams. So yeah,
It's heavy.
pretty heavy initial force. Yeah.
Kale's not doing. Kale's alright. They make a lot of good stuff, but they like make too much stuff where they start fighting and cannibalizing each other, and you're like, well, this kale's better than this kale, so no one's gonna buy this kale over here. So kale, this is a Halo Clear. Also pretty heavy. One of my first ever mechanical switches in my drop control. The first real keyboard that I spent legitimate money on. And I hated it because of the switch. It's got issues.
Not many fans of Halo Clear or Halo True in their stock forms. Mostly used for the Franken switches now, but
it's going into F tier straight up. Oh, they have use. They have use. You could cannibalize them and get holy pandas. So maybe it belongs into D tier. D tier. It's not trash. No. Yeah.
Wouldn't call Halo barely tactile. We got a question in the chat. I wouldn't call them barely tactile, but they are a light to light medium tactile. They're based on MX Clear.
Yeah, it's tactile enough, but because the spring is so heavy, it could feel like a really heavy linear. Unless you're pressing down slowly, then you feel a tactile bump. Alright, Flying Frog asks, anyone have good options for tactile switches for my first custom? Anyone in S and A tier? They're pretty good. Or B. I mean, B is pretty dang good too.
Mostly just depends on your budget.
Yeah.
If you've got a lower budget, then you're pretty much looking at Hako or the J-Wick. Maybe a KTT, like Monochrome Onyx or KTT Mallow. But those are going to be on the lighter side. J-Wick is going to be on the stronger side. And then yeah, if you're in the middle, go for Texi or J-Wick Duroc. High end, I don't know. It's up to you on the high end. There's a lot of good stuff. That Neapolitan ice cream on S tier.
Looks like they're all out of stock right now. Darn. See, I had a really hard time acquiring some of these switches too. But every day, if you sign up for all the email notifications and you reload the page, like you check it every day, you'll get something. Took a while for me to get them. So I've got 3 left. What is this? Oh, Duroc Tactile Medium. Duroc Medium Tactile. There's not much I've got to say about this. It sort of feels like a brown. Maybe feels like a kale brown. A little lighter weight.
Yeah, to me, the bottom out feels, I don't know if it's the spring or just the way the stem and the leaf are interacting, but it's a little soft on the bottom out. I don't know how to call it, springy or soft on the bottom out.
It's not like a very feelable bottom out.
It's not distinct at all.
Yeah, it's not distinct. So here's what that sounds like. And then we never heard Halo Trues. That's my bad. Here's Halo Trues. Ugh, gives me bad memories. Ugh. So Duroc, medium tactile. I'll probably put that in C tier. Mediocre. Could use it if you needed to. Very appropriate. Oop. There's so many tactiles on this list. There's 2 more. Kinetic Labs Salmons. And one of the Otomu switches.
Yeah, Otomu Sky.
Otomu Sky. So another Gazoo special? Or no?
Yeah, I think this one is the first one that he worked on, or alongside Silent Sky, and it's a medium tactile, comparable to Silent Sky or the medium tactile that you just tried. Should be maybe a tad bit stronger, but the stem is one of the wobbliest stems I've ever used. I cannot use it.
Yeah, it doesn't have a super distinct bottom out either. It's you know, it's mediocre.
I can hear the spring ping from here. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm not into it. I'd put it in D tier.
Yeah, they're sadly a D or F tier switch for me as
Yeah, they're
well.
probably an
just
F.
the stem wobble alone is, yeah.
Ooh. And the last one is Salmon Switches by Kinetic Labs. They make a lot of switches. They make a lot of animal switches.
Yeah. So Kinetic Labs, these should be, I think
Long
they're made by
pole.
TTC. I'm not 100% sure on who the maker is, but I'm pretty sure it's TTC. And then yeah, tactile 50 gram actuation, 63.5 bottom out should be pretty comfortable.
Pretty comfortable. A pain to lube because of that super long spring.
Oh yeah.
I have to put this in the freakish pad. Oh, here's what that sounds like. Easy bump, comfortable. Long spring is a little annoying, and I think it does need some spring lube.
Yeah, I don't know, the Kinetic Lab switches or they're okay for me. I personally probably wouldn't they probably wouldn't be my first choice necessarily, but
Yeah.
I don't think you can necessarily go wrong with them, especially at the price. They're around 48 cents a piece. Not too bad.
So it'd probably either B or C.
Yeah. I haven't tried these, so probably a C tier for me, not having tried it. But
Yeah, I put
if
it
I
in
tried
C
it, I
tier
might.
too.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I can't believe we got through it all and only in 2 hours, about 2 hours and 17 minutes. Long list of tactile switches, but I'm going to download this and then post it somewhere where it can be safe for all of you to see. No, tactile. I'll save it. Oh, and since I have an entire keyboard full of them, we can do a very, very Frankenstein-y sound test. And I got an ad. Very Frankenstein. Yeah, very Frankenstein. So I'm sure you'll like it. It'll be fun. Let me turn off my noise gate. And yeah, cool. Let's see, that would be this one. I need a space bar.
Ooh.
What?
Some of those sounded like distinctly scratch.
Yeah, some sounded better than others, that's for sure. And the silent ones were very, very silent. I mean,
Well,
this
maybe that's what I was reacting to. That's right.
sounds like every cheap keyboard. That's not true. I think I overpaid for this, but you know, whatever. I can't buy from Taobao. So
Is that the MW65 normal one or the light one?
I think it's just a normal one. I don't like it because if you look at the PCB, it bends to the point where it hits that bottom piece.
Wow.
Yeah, it's almost too
Oh,
flexible.
yeah. See that?
Yeah, it's a little dangerous. And there's no standoffs or anything, so without switches, like the PCB just moves up and down.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, this was quite something. We've got a gigantic tier list of tactile switches. I know linear is going to take a really long time. We'll probably come up with some way to get
Yeah,
through it.
linears, thankfully, there's nothing really to judge it on other than smoothness, sound, and spring weight, you know?
Yeah,
So it should
no
be
bump.
pretty quick.
There's no bump that you need to gauge, and no click bar.
Yeah, I mean, for me, generally, if you find a good linear, then that's it. You know, you just
You're
gotta
good.
like, do I like the spring? If not, I'll swap the spring, and then I'm done.
That's true. You just want one that sounds the way that you want and feels the way that you want, and then you can do whatever.
Are there any tactile switches now that'll make you turn back to tactile gang or
If I didn't want switches that weren't so loud, I would probably go for like a dark jade or even a night Sakura, but Neapolitan's really good. I like that sound a lot. That one's not too loud compared to these two. But these two sound really nice. Nicely tactile. But
yeah,
no,
pretty good choices,
you're
I'd
not
say.
getting me to switch. It's just not. It's not happening. Linear life is too easy.
Nice and chill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tactiles have been a real big headache, especially after you try a ton of them and you go back to like one of the first ones you tried. Like, okay. Or it's like me, I'm like, I like silent tactile the most right now because I have to use that the most. But it's like when you discover that I've tried all these switches and all I want is a 50-cent silent tactile. So great.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I spent so much money trying switches, but I don't even like the expensive stuff. Come to the dark side. I will not. I will not. Well, I think that concludes our tactile switch tier list. This was really fun. I hope you all enjoyed it. I don't even know how many of you are out there, but thank you for being here and listening to us talk about switches because it is dank. I don't think it's a very popular thing to talk about, although it's a really popular thing to ask about. Especially the question, what switch makes thock? There is none. No switch makes thock. Your life is just question it from now on. There's no thock switch. So have a good night. Thank you, Randy, for coming on, being the information guru switch expert over here with a lot of experience. I really appreciate that.
Thanks, Betty. It was fun. Thank you, everyone.
linear Switch in 2 weeks because I am going to Vegas next week. And Randy, you don't know that yet, but now you do. Yeah, I'm going to be partying it up. No, it's a business trip. It's a business trip, but I'm sure there'll be enough partying on the side. So I'll be back, and yeah, that'll be fun. There'll be videos throughout. It'll be like I didn't even go away at all. Now, have a good night, everybody. Thank you for being here. Join the Discord if you want to. !Discord. Randy is on there, quite active. And we do have another keyboard tournament going on right now. So you can only join via the Discord. You know, make sure you have something that's fancy that you like. We have prizes. I'm getting companies to contribute some prizes, or I can buy them. So join the tournament. It'll be really fun. And yeah. You all get to judge too, even if you don't join. You can help judge. It'll be a good time. So click on that link right there. Say hello, join the tournament, and have a good night. Goodbye.
See you, Betty.